coming back to school with me. We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm the board game teacher. Today we're taking a look at Patchwork by Mayfair Games. So for the number of players, I'm going to give it a C, and that's just because it's a two-player game. I prefer in classroom settings to get games which have more bang for their buck, can get more players and people involved at one time. There are some times where maybe you just want a two-player game, but as I'm saying, for me personally, what I'm looking for is games which can accommodate those larger numbers more effectively. Now, that's not to say you couldn't do this game in teams. I think that's entirely possible, where you have teams of two or more on each side, working together, collaborating, discussing what they think the best moves will be, and then acting upon that. So that is possible, but at its heart, it's really a two-player game. For the learning, I give this game a B. I think this game has a lot of great skills, which is teaching in terms of the spatial sense, the reasoning and looking at things, the need to plan ahead and to recognize shapes, where they're going, just the whole spatial sense element getting in there. It's a very difficult concept to teach. This game does a great job of that just by playing. And the more you play, the more you become familiar with seeing things and where they'll fit and recognizing these kinds of things. Think of it as a board game version of Tetris in a way, where you're trying to fit shapes into spaces. If you think Tetris was good for your brain, well, I've got the board game version for you right here. It also involves some arithmetic. As you are adding things, you're counting up your money, how many spaces you have left on your tile at the end of the game, all of which you can see in the blog when I get that up. But the game has geometry, has arithmetic, and it does a good job of it, and it's a fun way of teaching it. So for the fun, I give this game a B+. Bit of a spoiler from when I talked about it in the learning, but I just think this game's a lot of fun. Now, if you're the kind of person who enjoys Tetris, then you would like this kind of game. Just the strategizing, the planning of what pieces you're going to fit into where to try to complete your own personal quilt as you play this game is, as I say, Tetris at heart. So if Tetris is your kind of game, you too will think this game is fun. For time, I give this game a B+ again. It plays in half an hour, approximately, so easily fits within a school period. I don't think any school periods would be less than half an hour. And so it's a quick, fun game. With a two-player game, it would be nicer again if it was quicker, and then that way it would be so bad being only two players, because you could just play lots of games of it in a very fast succession. As it is, you're probably going to take up most of the period in setting up, playing, striking this game, so only two people are going to get to appreciate this for one period. The cost, I'm giving a B. Again, it's a two-player game. I'm not going to fault it for that. And as a two-players games go, I think this game, it's good money for what you're getting. It's a good, solid game. It's a lot of fun, and it's pretty designs and things, and the pieces and everything, components inside. I think you're getting good value for your money here. So I think right now it's being sold on levelup.ca for $22.95, if memory serves me correctly. I did just look it up before I started filming this video, but so you're looking around that range there. So if this is something you might like to get for your home or for your classroom, for $23, I think it's a good buy. Just keep in mind that it's only for two players. So this would be the setup for a game of Patchwork. All the pieces here, like the quilt pieces that you're going to be adding, are just laid randomly in a circle around the boards here. Each player has their own colored board, so this would be yellow and green, and this is a board which represents a timer, also in places where players will receive income, which I'll explain in just a second. So this bobbin piece here will always go before this particular piece, which shows two buttons and one hourglass, one time. It always goes just before it, traveling in a clockwise direction. So wherever that piece ends up as you lay the pieces out is where this piece will begin. Now, on the start of a turn, so let's say the yellow player is starting, every player has the opportunity to take the next 3 pieces in line from wherever this neutral piece starts. And so in this case, I could take this 2 button 1 time, this one which is 2 button 2 time, or this one which is 2 button 1 time. And remember, the objective is to be covering your space completely. So if I took this one, so let's say I take this one here. So I'd be paying 2 buttons, and every player starts with 5 buttons. I would then move this piece to here, to where the piece I took was. So this piece was here, I moved the neutral piece there, I then add this to my quilt pattern here, remembering with the intention of filling up all the spaces. So I really wouldn't want to be careful about doing that, because there's only one piece in the whole game that's going to fill that, and it's right here. So I'm not going to be guaranteed that I will get that piece, because remember, you can only ever take the 3 pieces that are in front of you, not behind you. So I'd have to wait till it comes back around, and who knows whether or not I will get that one. So I'll leave myself a little bit open there and leave that one like so. Now it's my opponent's turn. My opponent looks here. They can take this button for, oh, and I would move my 1 time. Now my opponent can do this one for 2 buttons 2 time. This one's 8 buttons and 6 time. And this one's just 3 time. Well, they're going to take the one for just 3 time and save their buttons, save their income. So then they'll put this piece down. Now notice this one has a button on it. That means that they, when they pass these button spaces, will get that button as an income. The buttons are the currency of this game, and so you do want to be making sure to be getting buttons on your board, so that way when you pass these spaces you can afford more pieces. And so this was just 3 times, so they would go 1, 2, 3 to me there. Now again, I have the options here, so maybe I'll take this one for 1 button and 2 time, putting the piece there. And now as I add this piece, I'll maybe put this piece here. And I am leaving a space there, but there are these patches on the board, and the first player to pass these patches as you go around will get them. And I'm hoping I'll get at least one, and I can patch up that empty space there. And now as I move, I go 1, 2 spaces. Because I'm on top of the player, I get to go again. But now I don't have any more money to buy anything, so I just have to move. I keep moving forward until I pass them. So I move 1, and now I'm in front of them, and I take 1 button. So for every space I travel when I can't afford to buy anything else, I just move forward and I get that income. And the game will proceed. Let me move the game, fast forward the game a little bit, and I will show you how it looks towards the end. Okay, so we fast forwarded to later in the game, maybe towards the end of the game here, and each player at this point, when they finish the game, all the patches will be gone and added to the quilts. So maybe the player got them. What you're looking for at this point is when you get to the end, you're going to tally up all the buttons that you have, and you're going to subtract the number of empty spaces that you still have on your quilt. So here's where the arithmetic part comes in. So you can even do things like area, where you can do a 3x3 grid here, so 9, 12, 13, 15, 17, 19. So whatever money they had, they would subtract 19, and that would be their whatever's left money they're left with is their final score. Or if they go into a negative, their negative is their final score. In this case, hoping that the other player has a greater negative. Now, this player also, one thing you're looking for is to try to create a 7x7 grid which is completely covered, which this player has done here with the 2, 4, 6, 7. They finished the 7x7 grid in here, thereby earning this reward, which gives them a bonus of 7 buttons. So that's something also to be planning for as you play this game. And so you play this through, and the player with the most buttons wins. But you can see as you're playing the game, as the piece is going around, you're really going to be having to do some critical thinking, some problem solving, to think about which pieces are going to fit where. You may find sometimes people want to pick things up and test and see. Just make sure that they go back in the proper spots, and always remember to move the neutral player forward. That's something that's really easy to forget. Calculating income every time you do, so counting by 2s usually is a quick way to go about counting the buttons, or counting by 1s. But the real strength of the game comes in the whole planning of the pieces and seeing and recognizing and seeing it, because the last thing you really want to be doing if you're playing very seriously is to be testing all the pieces, because then the other players are going to know what you're thinking and they may try to thwart your plans by either taking the piece that you want or setting the neutral piece up so that it's out of reach of the piece that you want until such time that they can maybe send it past the piece that you want. Just, they can mess with your plans in so many ways. But that's how you play Patchwork. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Hopefully you saw something you liked in Patchwork. Hopefully you're going to go up and get your own copy, because this is a good game. I do like this one, as I say, quite a bit. And so if you have any other ideas for games you might like to see on the channel, or other games which you think are good at teaching geometry and spatial sense and might do well in a classroom setting, please leave me a message in the comment section below and I'll be sure to get right on that. Until next time, I'm Craig Thompson-Wood, the board game teacher, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school?